Okay, so I hope welcome all for this day one on boot camp on STAAD Pro, organized by School of Civil Engineering, Lovely Professional University. So I hope the instruction for the participants is clear. So please mute yourself and mute your video too. Right. So welcoming you once again on the boot camp for the day one on STAAD Pro, organized by School of Civil Engineering, Lovely Professional University. And very happy to welcoming all audience from various states and various countries to take part in the boot camp organized by myself. So we'll be going one stage by stage for the introduction part, as well as we'll be discovering more about on STAAD Pro. And this 5 days will be highly useful for all the participants to learn a new way of exploring the STAAD Pro. And for the beginner from the level 0, so the bootcamp on STAAD Pro will highly helpful to learn the software from the level 0 also, right? So here we have participants of various mixed group, UG and PG levels, and also from international level students are also taking part. So all your doubts or your clarification will be taken care at the end. So with spirit, we'll start our day one on bootcamp. So introduce about my department. So my department is School of Civil Engineering, Lovely Professional University. Our department, the main head and most important person who is handling our domain, that's our professor and head, Mr. Dr. Amit Srivastava sir. So he is from IIC Bangalore and handling our head of the department. And also we have our deputy dean and assistant professor, and also the structural engineering head, domain head, Ms. Mandip Kaur, ma'am. So both are the pillar for our department. As you see, our building is so strong. So as like that, our two people are the main icon for our building to be more strong for organizing more events for the students from various domain and various universities. And we also have various domains of water resource, geotechnical engineering, transportations, with very experienced faculties, and I also thankful at this stage for all my team and staff members over here. And moving further to the campus, on our campus, so our Lovely Professional University is a wonderful campus, so where you can explore more variety of environmental and aesthetical views on our campus. So number of students are studying here from various countries, and also various activities are going on ahead. Since it's a lockdown, we could not able to go for offline mode classes, but yes, we are doing wonderful on online sessions also. So we are engaged with number of activities all over places of national level and international level. Students are taking part in our events, and we are also hosting a more number of webinar sessions on environment, geotechnicals, and structural analysis, and all these events we are updating, and we are getting connected with our students effectively. So next, about our day one progress. So sorry about myself. So let me introduce about myself. So myself is S. Ganesh. I am assistant professor from completed my graduate from Jerusalem College of Engineering, Chennai, and masters in structural engineering from VIT Vellore, and presently working here in assistant professor in Lovely Professional University. And my experience is as a structural design engineer in computer science, computers and structures and incorporations, which is located in Delhi. So I have experience as a design engineer working on Etabs and STAAD Pro for analysis and design part. And I joined the University of Lovely Professional University in 2013 as a teacher, as an assistant professor. And till date, I'm working over here. So around 7 to 8 years of experience in teaching, as well as for research projects for PG students. I'm handling for guidance for them. And apart from that, my subject domain and knowledge is of design of RCC structures, concrete technologies, structural dynamics, analysis and design for bridge engineering, and advanced structural analysis and software and computation labs. Certain projects which I have handled using Etabs as well as STAAD Pro. So certain projects are highlighting over here. It's on Agarwal residential plots near Delhi, and again commercial plots in Saket, New Delhi, and school buildings, majority of school building and commercial buildings as well as hospital building and New Delhi area I have worked it. And also on Chennai, two major projects, mini hall as well as Mango Tree restaurant. It's in Chennai. So I worked on that part. And software knowledge, I have a various wide area of knowledge about AutoCAD, Revit, and STAAD Pro, Etabs, and Primavera, and even MS Office. And I have been an exposure of CSIR, SCRC as a student over here. And I did my 1-year internship over there also. And even in IIT, I'm Research Park in Chennai. Right, so this is a smart profile about myself. And to go ahead with today's content for the day. So I hope your charge is full for the day one, and we are going to explore more topics for the day one with full energy and with full spirit, right? So I agree with that statement, and we are going to explore more things today. So first thing is on introduction, basically on introduction on STAAD Pros, and we'll be seeing some success story on with STAAD Pro, what you can do it, and in further days, what you can explore it. Right, and then overview, we are going to discuss on overview of the layouts of the software, and then STAAD editor. I'll be coming across with the STAAD editor today. Right, so to start with first, and you'll have some assignments to take home. You can practice in home later on, and you can discuss the question tomorrow. Right, to start with session one, that is your STAAD Pro. So basically what a STAAD Pro is all about. So we are aware about STAAD Pro, that is on basically what are the basic elements you have studied so far in BTech level or MTech level. But apart from that, we have 3 various versions of STAAD Pro. So if you are not aware about it, you can get updated from here. So first is your STAAD Pro Basics, and second STAAD Pro Advanced, and third one is your structural suite. That is your completely for design part. So whatever you have studied at basic level, that is your STAAD Pro. So what we have studied so far, it is on this level only. So this is your STAAD Pro basic level. So when you go for industries, so that you might be aware about Connect Editions, you might be heard about the Connect Editions. So this Connect Editions is a new platform by Bentley STAAD Pro. So they are connecting with the various number of platforms. Basically, we talk about BIM, Building Information Modeling. So how AutoCAD file. So suppose you have an AutoCAD file and you want to completely make it as a Revit model, and then you want to add certain concept called MEP. So you might be aware about MEP, that is called mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So when you add these features and everything together, we get a layer. So that all these files is over together, we work with Connect Editions. So for that Connect Editions, we call it as STAAD Pro Advanced level and also structural worksheet. So this we will be coming closer to that. So these are certain advanced level where the softwares are used with extreme, with heavy graphic cards and very high level configurations, right? So STAAD Pro Basic. So we are going to talk about STAAD Pro Basic level. So what is STAAD Pro Basic is all about? So you might be studied about it's a programming, or it is a software, or it is kind of a computational tools which is going to give you answer. So all your answers are yes. So I'll write your answer as yes. So whatever the answer it's striking in your mind, so it is a yes. But what is behind this software? So that is a question. So you, as it's a software based for analysis, so you may say that is a software used for making an analysis and design for making it. Right, so you're well done. Your answer is right. So it is a software used for analysis and design. But for what purpose you are going to do the analysis and design? Yes, you're going to design buildings or bridges or highway structures or any industrial structures, like example, power plant, cooling plant, tower, or a kind of industrial cranes. So that you want to design it. Of course, yes, you can do that over here. And yes, certain cases where you want to design for hydraulic structures, certain dam structures, or some kind of retaining walls or turbines or foundations. So you can use that also here. And certain cases, box culverts for making your structural analysis, we use that also, right? So this is the main platform where we use it. But what is behind this software? That is a question. So what this software is doing, basically, when someone asks you what is the name of STAAD Pro, so you say it's as a structural analysis and design professionals. So that is a basic definition which you see on the internet. You can say that structural analysis and design professionals. So that is a basic definition. But behind that definition, what is the software is doing? So that software is doing a concept called FEM. So you should be aware about this. So those are learning for the first time. So add on this also in your answer. It is a FEM based software. So finite element method analysis. So why I'm saying finite element method analysis? So in your interview, you may go for a interview. They ask you what is STAAD Pro. So at that time, you say a STAAD Pro is full form as a structural analysis and design professional, right? But what is beyond that? So please try to add on that it is called as a FEM based software. So it is working on a perfect node and element that is called a member. So it works on two basic principles. One is node, another one is member. So when you worked on this software, you may see you create a node, you add a beam. So what is that? So that is the basic concept of FEM. So you create a FEM model on that. So you create number of nodes, you create small nodes, and then you join a number members over there. Again, you join one node, you join a member. Again, you create a node, you'll create a member. Again, you'll join this. So you get your structures. So that makes your structure possibility. So right, so that's what all about the software. So it's a graphical model generation utilities, also for linear, elastic, finite element analysis and dynamic response. Yes, you can do some kind of dynamic analysis, that is a response spectrum or time history method. We can go for that also. And it also give a design, a complete design for your concrete, steel, aluminum, and timber. And it also gives you results of bending moment, shear force diagram, stress counters, profile, all it will be given in together. And then now, as I said, a question mark, what is behind? So the software is running behind with certain third-party software for coding purpose. So that coding software is nothing but your C++ and VB and VB8, Fortran, Java, Delphi. So these are certain software which help you to do the codings. So do the codings. So what is this coding? So it's basically a part where you give a syntax by computer language, understanding by the computer language, and then you use the software. So some may be used Rivet or some may use AutoCAD. You go and pick a line, and once you pick the lines is drawn. But how this lines is drawn, how these coordinates are responding to you. So that is a part over here, right? So I hope this is clear. And next, what we are going to do is, so this is an older version. So you can see this as an older version, and this is the latest part where you see carrying a small pen drive to install. So older days, you need to copy in a floppy drive or CD, then you need to do the installations. But nowadays we are transferring through Google Drive and pen drive. All these latest technologies have made our things. So due to that, there is a version updates in software also. So starting from 2006 also, there was a software in 2006 version, but basically it came effective from 2007. So STAAD Pro came in effective from 2007, and then we had updated to current series of 6. Current series of 6. So the updation version is right now is V8i6. And as I said, these are the two connected editions where you can work on spot, or you can share with a different file transferring from Rivet models or CAD or some other spatial softwares where you do some counter maps. So you want to connect with various domains of software, you can get connected with the various streams, right? So rather than spending over here, so just a quick review I'll be giving you how has been developed. So those who are hearing the word BIM right now in the market, you hear that BIM software. So number of people and number of students are going towards a BIM, right? So you go towards a BIM. So why you're going further to the BIM? So why? What is the need of BIM? So you say that BIM is a building information modeling. So let us talk about what it is doing or what is the application. So we'll discuss that later on. But when you see the graph over here, you can see after AutoCAD innovations in 1982 and 2002, your BIM came active. So already in 2002, the BIM came active. And myself, I came to know about BIM in 2007. So myself, I came to know the application of BIM in 2007 only. So now it is 2021. So various gap is there. So updations are there. So updations in the software, various softwares are there. So time is changing for us. So there is an increase in the software application also, right? So further that, you need to know about certain success stories, how you use AutoCAD, STAAD Pro and AutoCAD together to make a successful story. So the word which I written over here, hard work never fails. So that is true, right? So you agree to this. So I'm quickly sharing you a few things where my students' profile is done. So here are certain success story where my students got a victory and got number of competitions over Bentley. So this is a sample building. So it is called as a shape of 8. So we brought a concept of a building in shape of 8. So if a building is looking like 8, so how it is going to be constructed or how it is going to be analyzed. So this is a competition and it is a prize winning. This is won the prize for the Bentley student competition. So it was a special recognition award we got it. Right, I'll show this later. And then these are the person, student, I want to give a credit to them. So Mr. Navin and Kunal, MTech students of Lovely Professional University. And next model is model S. So you can see the models created by next group of students. So he's a BTech student. Credit goes to Mr. Varun. So he also worked very hard along with me and to make a models, and we completed with all the 0 errors, everything it's done. And then few more hexagon building. So this is goes to credit to Mr. Samir, MTech LPU student. So he also worked very hard to make this model, and all this is solved. And this is Mr. Ankit Dal, MTech LPU students. He also did this model. And finally, we got the achievement. So we are traveling in the hard work for every day. So we are working for our models. So we have a discussion with our students. So this is my team. So I can probably say this is my team. So we work with my team, with my students. So finally, out of this, my group students got the prize, special recognition award in 2019. So is a winner of that competition, right? So this is a small success story, how you want to engage yourself. So why I'm sharing this is just you need to go get in touch with the software and you want to practice. If you're not practicing, then you can't get the success, right? So that's a basic example I want to share with my other students also, right? So next, section 3. So we are moving further next with section 3. So quickly we are going to go to overview on the STAAD Pro. So we are going to start right now, right? So to start with this, now I request, if you have installed the software, if you are ready with your software, you can open the software and you can get ready, right? And we'll be going with the one by one. So I'll be telling you what is that. So you don't want to do anything, just open the software. You can just open the software and get ready. So let me wait for a minute. So just let me confirm that all have opened the software just for 2 minutes. Okay. So I'll just making a time for opening your software and get ready. And I hope you are again charged. So level of charge is right. Okay, so I consider that all have opened the software, right? So no issues if you don't have installed the software. You can share that installation folder, or you can have discuss with me later on. Okay, no issues. If you have a problem in installation, you can discuss it later on after the session. You can discuss with me, right? So once you open the software, if you have those person are ready, so let's start with that. Right. So let's begin with our exploration on the STAAD Pro. Right. So once you open the STAAD Pro, so you see this first window. So once you see this as a first screen, which is flashing on your window. So once you open here, so once you go to this part, so majority might be knowing or some might not be knowing. So when you click on configurations, you have certain settings and you can change your color, your interfaces, everything, right? So that is the part where you can go and do the settings, right? And then the most important point you need to come back is on new projects. You need to come back to new projects. So once you click on new project, so when you see on new project, you will be taken to a new window. So once you click on, you can click on here. So first click on here. Those are following my instruction. You can come along with me and you can do the same procedure. Because right now I'm just giving the outlook only. I'm just explaining the terms. So a few students are new to the STAAD Pro, or a few may be already familiar to the window, right? So just for the newcomers or new people learning first time STAAD Pro, so let them help me them, right? So click on new projects. So once you click on new project, you get this window. So you can see 4 categories of things: space, plane, floor, truss. So I'll be explaining this again later on. So what is this all about it? And then you'll be seeing a file name, you see locations, and you see the units. So what is your units to be set out for the drawing? And force units. What is the units to be maintained for your force units? So you want to follow newtons or kilonewtons or tons, etc. So you need to give a location. So for the students who are doing first time, so please take care. So I'm writing a please take care of that. So create a new folder. So by clicking here, you can create a new folder. So create a new folder on a drive. So on the desktop or wherever you like to save your files, you can see. So you can see I am saying on the desktop. So my folder is on desktop. So like this, you can save to protect your files. So where it is completely saving your files, right? So this is the basic outlook. And then second thing which you want to know is once you click OK, you get this window. So the green symbol says that you're done. So you're done with the inputs. So your basic inputs is done. You're ready with the software to work on this part. So once you see this part, so you're not done. So just it is opened your software. So this is just opening of your software. So after that, what you want to do, and number of students do some mistake. So I want to make it clear for you. So please make a note that when you open the software and you're working on the software, so that you need to do certain settings, right? So you want to do the settings that how you want to initiate your planning. So how to start with the plan. So I'm going to explain you that further right now. So first thing which you want to know is on space, as I already said, the 4 tabs. So floor, and then you have to know about truss. So what is space basically? So space means a 3-dimensional figure. So space means a 3-dimensional figures. So it has X, it has Y, it has Z. So when you see a cube, a cubical structure like this, right? So this is a space element. So it has all X direction, it has a Z direction, and it has Y directions. So this is a basically things that comes as a space element. And then you have a plane elements. What is this plane elements? So plane element is called as a 2-dimensional figure. So it's called as a 2-dimensional figure. So what is this 2-dimensional figure? So suppose you have a a small frame element like this. So I have only the frame elements like this. I have a column, I have a beam. That's it. So I'm not making any 3 dimensions here. So just a 2D structures. I want to study some 2D structure, or I want to study about a beam. So I want to study about certain beams, which is fixed on both sides. So then I can prefer my plane elements. Now, what is floor basically? So floor is also a kind of 2D element. So floor is a 2D element, but when you add a thickness, so make sure my words. So when you add a thickness, so the floor element turns to be 3D. So right. So what is that? So floor means what? So floor means when you draw a certain shape. So length, width. So this makes a floor. So length and width. So this is your floor. So this is my floor area. Now when I say floor thickness, so when I add a thickness, so 150 mm. So slab thickness as 150 mm. So what happened? I will project a small element. Now what happens? It becomes to be a 3D element. So for floor, we have 2 concepts in STAAD Pro. One is plate element, one is surface element. So for this part, we'll be coming in a day 3 concept. So don't worry. So you can note down the names at right now. So you have plate and you have surface. So we'll be discussing this in later on sessions. So what is that plate and surface element? And the next part, that is your truss. What is this truss element? So truss element basically, again, it's a 2D as well as 3D element, because when you project a truss, so basically when you draw a simple truss, so this is 2D element. But when I project this in transformation or some kind of 3D structures, so it is going to get projected. So it will be projected like this. Then I can see my trusses as a 3-dimensional figures. So first one is purely a 3D. Second one is purely a 2D. And third and fourth are partial, both 2D and 3D versions. Right. So that covers your space, plane, floor, and truss element. Next part which you want to know is on the concept where you see a linear. Now what is linear? So word linear on the screen shows you here by default. So by default, the STAAD Pro takes a linear axis. So what is that linear axis? So linear axis means either it can take x, y, or x, z, or y, z. So it's a kind of 2 element, 2 axis. That's what you see here as x, y, x, z, y, z, and plane of angle, what you want to do, which angle you want to work. So you want to tilt 30 degree or you want to tilt 45 degree. So you can tilt your angle of planes x and y or z. And second thing which you want to know is your grid origin. So what is my starting point? So this is called a starting point. Where is my starting point? So what is the origin? So that is called grid origin. So the grid origin is here. So this is called as grid origin. Right? So this is called as grid origin. So starting is 0, 0, 0. So when I say 0, 0, 0 means x, y, z. So that is 0 there. So up to here you are aware about it. So those who have worked on STAAD Pro previously, I hope you are clearly known to you up to this part. And second stage, further that, so what you have is on the construction lines and spacing, so which you want to know about this part, right? So let me explain you that linear, radial, and irregular. So when you click on this part, edit. So when you click on this edit or create, so both will help you to understand. You can change this concept to a linear, radial, and irregular structures. So linear means you can make structures like this, normal structures where a building frames, you can do it. But if you are doing a radial, so that is a circular frame, so a circular tank, a circular water tank you want to do. So that is called as a radial elements. And irregular structures, suppose I have a certain frames like this, figure like this. So I want to work in x-axis also, I want to work in y-axis and z-axis, or I want to make a difficult models for some irregular shapes. So suddenly there is certain curves are coming on these models. So certain curves are coming. So I want to do that in a different angles. So I use irregular models. So these are certain examples which explain you linear, radial, and irregulars, right? So further that, you also need to know about skew. So a number of students may not be aware about skew, or few might be aware about it. So what is skew? So skew is basically an angle, okay, a small tilted angle. So what you want to make a small tilted angle which you want to bring it, right? So how you want to do that angle in your STAAD Pro? So that is a question, how you want to bring that skew angles in STAAD Pro, and what are that applications? So basically why I want to use that skew. So basically in a residential building, so when you talk about residential buildings, we don't have any major application of skew. But when you work in projects like bridges or retaining walls or some kind of dam structures, so when you want to make a model for that particular part, or you want to make a skew, or you're working in a basement, certain basement buildings, you want to work on basement buildings. So there is certain retaining wall which is like inclined shape. So there are certain inclined shapes are coming. So I want to draw an inclined shape of walls. So I want to make certain angle, so theta or pi values. So I want to design this structure, right? So in such case, I go for skew angle rather than rotating or making my model irregulars. So that we go for skew angles. So certain examples I'm showing you on the screens. So these are certain examples where you can see the skew angle. So how you can work with this. So when you are skew angle for Z as 45 degree, you may get this kind of inclinations. So you can see there is a clear inclination over here. And when you change this axis, so when you change this axis as a 60 degree or XY axis, you get your skew angles. So these are highly useful for bridge buildings, for bridge structures where you are making certain cases, we can go for it. Or certain cases of pre-stress element, precast elements, you are designing a new precast element. So there are certain shapes and different angles are maintained. Then you can go for skew angles. So you can later on try with the different angles and axis variations, you get different kind of shapes over here, right? And this is a basic things which you note on the part. So this is your grid lines. So this is all your grid lines. So each is 1 meter gap. So each are 1 meter gap, which you give the inputs. So where you give the inputs over here. So the spacings. So this shows 1 meter gaps over here. Now the question is, so what happens if I tick mark on this X, Y, Z, or you can see certain case start or end models. So what is happening there? So when you click start and start, so it shows only the start of X-axis, start of Z-axis. So this is X-axis, so this is Z-axis, start of X-axis and start of Z-axis. When I say both side, so it will show the both start also it will show, and it will show the end also. So for both, so this is for Z and this is end. So for both X direction as well as Z direction, it shows your start and end portions of the coordinates. And what that X, Y, Z represents. So your shows that your coordinates, what is your X value, 0, 0. So here in this model, it shows Y is 0. So in both the case, the Y is 0, Z is 0, X is equal to 10 meter. At this point or this point, the X is called 10 meter. And if you talk about this particular point, Z is 1 meter. So Z is 1 meters. So like this, we can find out the values on your grids. And next thing which you can do is you can go and change the font colors. You can adjust your colors for different models you're working. Suppose, as I said, you want to do 2 or 4 grids in the same model. So you want to combine grids. So you may have certain grids, right? So you may have certain grids which to be combined together in a model. So in such case, the color might be confusable. So you may get irritated by seeing the same black color. So in such case, I want to merge two grids, different grids. So I can have an identification using some color identifications. So that will help for my projects. So you can also work on this part by changing the value from start, now, and both, all this part. And then further, you need to know about what is this local coordinates. So you might be heard about local coordinates. So what is this basically local coordinates? So the local coordinates and global coordinates, basically we have two concepts that is called global and local. So global coordinates and local coordinates, suppose I have a structure like this. For this shows this as a global, and this shows as a local coordinates. Let us take x dash, y dash. So this is as a local coordinates, and this is global coordinates. What is that basically? So if a simple example I want to say, so your parents are global coordinates. So your parents are global coordinates. So they keep on monitoring wherever you're going, where you're coming, what you're studying. So all they monitor it. So that is as a global coordinates. So what is local coordinates? So local coordinates is your guardians, or you're staying in a hostel, or your teacher or your hostel warden, they are monitoring you. So that they are called as a local guardians. So they monitor you where you're going, where you're coming. So they have a connection between local and global coordinates. So they are working together. So when you rotate this local coordinates, so in the structure part, when you rotate the frame, so when you rotate the structure, so like this, I tilt my frame. Now the local coordinates is tilted. So the local coordinate is tilted now. So the loads, whichever is going to have, it's going to have it on local coordinates, but not on my global coordinates, right? So for that purpose only, we need to identify whether it is a local coordinates or a global coordinates. So when you apply loads also, you see global coordinates, local coordinates when you work with the structure. So those who worked on STAAD Pro, they might be aware about that. But for beginner level, you can just note down what is the concept of a local and global coordinates. And secondly, you need to aware about this table part. So where you can see this table. So it's very useful table where you can enter the coordinates directly. So this help you to identify the coordinates. So whatever the coordinates you know, you can type x, y, z values directly, and you can join using your beam member, or you can identify the nodes. You can type here. So I'll come to this area later on in day 2. We are going to discuss all this part. And quickly moving further with the other concept. So first concept which you want to know is on the modeling tab. I'm going to focus on this part now over here. So you can click your cursor over there. Those are open the software. So you can click on that. So on the modeling tab, basically you have a certain setup files. So where you can enter your job details. And secondly, you have a geometry part. So where you want to create a beam or surface or plate or certain kind of composite materials. So once you click on this geometry, you can see all these icons near to that, right? So once you start working on that, we are going to explain all this part. So you can see that. And next, below to geometry, you have a general. So once you click on the general, the second tab gets open, sub-tabs will be getting open. So where you can see these properties and specifications, supports and loads and materials. So that will also be helpful. And next you have analysis and print. So when you go for analysis and print, you can see on the part how you want to do on the models. So what is that is done. So you want to do a post analysis or pre-analysis, you can carry out on that part. And finally, design. So what you want to do, design. You want to do steel design, you want to do concrete designs. So that you can click over here and give the inputs. So this will accept all your inputs, and you can get your design. And you can see shear wall. So if you are aware about shear wall, so you can do the design of shear walls also. So these are the most important tabs in STAAD Pro, how you want to know these features, where the tabs are available. So it's very, very important part. So how you use this inputs. So these are the basic things which you are going to give the inputs to the software. So this is called as inputs. So it will take all the inputs, whatever the inputs you're going to give. So that will be fed into the software, and then it will take for analysis part. And further that, a quick icons which you want to use, a very familiar part. So that is your add beam icons. So over here, you can bring your mouse cursor over here. So here you can see your add beam cursors, 4 noded plates and surface plates, 8 noded snap bars and your joint inserter nodes, or you want to generate a surface meshings. So all this I'll be explaining in day 2, right? So we're going to discuss in day 2 and day 3 how you want to utilize these parts. And quickly over here, so when you go on to this part, so you can see this translation repeat, circular repeat, and mirror and rotate features. So when you make a model, you want to rotate or you want to do some translation repeats, so you can do that options over here. And quickly over here, so you have certain kind of orientation views where you can rotate your buildings and see the sectional views of the buildings. And then one more part which you want to know is on file tabs. Quickly, I'm coming to this part. So on the top of the screen where you see the file menu, so once you click on the file menu, right? So you click on this file menu, you can see that part. So what is that file menu part? So the file menu is basically what you see on screens is for open, close, save buttons, etc. And then you have edit buttons. You can go and see this part, and view where you want to use certain toolbars, everything. So don't worry. So you can hold on this parts, so which you are going to have some practical application. So just I'm taking you to the overview only. So these are all just outlook how you look the software at it, right? And just have an idea about this. And then you have also about a select, geometry, and your command area and analysis area. So here the most important part is on select cursors. So types of cursors which you want to use. So the types of cursors, when you change from one element to another element, you have different types of cursors to be selected. And similarly, how you want to select, so certain tricks. So you want to select certain parallel or perpendicular elements or plates, so that we can use using your parallel cursors. And also the geometry, when you look on the geometry, so you can see add beams, add cursors, add plates. So this also can be done as it is. And then commands, you need to give certain commands on the member specifications, what type of member, what is the size of that member, or what is the material, either it is a concrete material or steel material. So you want to give a command, right? And what is the thickness? Suppose I want to do for thickness 150 or 125 mm size. So I want to give this command, right? So I want to give these inputs. So that is given as a commands for plate thickness, etc. And materials, what type of materials, density, member specifications, all these things. And finally, you will go for the analysis part. So the model will be successfully running analysis, and then it will give you. And last is your mode and window and help buttons, where you can see certain modelings and help screens on the part. Right, so this is our outlook of the softwares. And then a quick cursors, again, you can see on the right side corner, sorry, left side corner. So over to your left side, you can see this icons visible on the software. And towards the right top corner, so right top corner, you can see this icons. So these are useful for your selection of logo and table, graphic display, everything. So you can go and work on this part. Just if you're fresher for a beginner level, just have an idea about it. You can go and see one by one what are these icons, what are the things. Just because we are going to start the exercise soon by tomorrow, so you should be aware about the cursors. So when I say plate cursor, so immediately you should look over here. If I say beam cursor, you should be looking over here, right? So just have an idea about it. And next, you're going to come to the next part, how you want to start your models. So how you can start your models. So in STAAD Pro, how you want to start your models. So how you can do is on 3 bases. So the models can be done on 3 bases. That is on GUI models. One is on editor model. one is on wizard. Right, so you have three phases. So three phase you have to start the models. So GUI is a graphical user interface. So this is called as GUI interface. What you see on the screen, it's called as a graphical user interface. So directly you bring your cursor over here or you bring a cursor here. So it's like pick and drop service. It's like kind of pick and drop. So you can easily go and select a beam cursor. You can select a view. So the system will show you graphically. Now, what is editor? So editor is some kind of syntax writing. So you need to write the syntax. So programming language, you need to write the syntax. Now, what is wizard? So wizard is a part, it's a pre-ready-made part. So pre-ready-made. So you need to just give the raw inputs. Just you need to give a raw inputs to the structure. And your model will be get ready. Right, so that is your structure wizard. So we call it as a structure wizards, which you can see under a geometry. We can see under geometry, you can see the structure wizards. Right, so we'll be coming quickly. Today we are going to discuss the next section. So before going to that, so quickly let's have a quiz. You can type in the chat box. So you can put share your answer in chat box. Just sorry. Right, so just 10 seconds, you can go ahead. Those who want to give a try, you can start it. So let's see who has given quickly. 5, 7, 4, okay, 7, 5. Okay, good. I'm getting a good response. Answers are coming. Good. Okay, good. Right. Okay, good. Fine. Very good. So the right answer is 7. So right answer is 7 is your right answer. Fine. So for moving further that, so STAAD editor. So what is STAAD editor basically? So I hope your charge level is stable. So moving ahead again. So I have a question to you again. So do you have any idea about STAAD editor? Do you have any idea about STAAD editor? You can share your answers in the chat box again. So if you use the STAAD editor, you can mention yes, or you can say some statement in the chat box. So where you have used this STAAD editor and why you used it. So just again, a timer is on to you. You can go ahead quickly. Any projects, any editing you have done using STAAD editor. Okay, fine. So let's see the response quickly. Syntax coding part. Okay, good. Use for basic designs. Okay. STAAD editor syntax command. Okay, fine. Good. Good. Okay. So fine. So what you want to do is all about your gamings. So how many of you? So what's all about your gamings? So I know all are playing games and PUBG, whatever the games, etc. But after playing that game, but we don't know how it's created. So we don't know how it is created, the games, how they are created, right? So there's a certain questions, how these games are created in this part. But if your answer is yes, so if your answer is yes, by animation, graphics, rendering, right? So using certain kind of graphics or rendering part, which you are going to use. So I'm so sorry, but that is not the right answer. But behind that, addition to that, you need to add some programming language and coding and syntax. So how your graphics and animations are developed, so that is also a software, right? So you can't directly go and speak to the computer, take this input, I need out this output. So how your inputs is given and how what outputs you're going to get. So that's what we say it as a coding and syntax. So your first part of today's is your STAAD editor, which I'm going to discuss now. So that is on STAAD editor. So you should understand certain things of codings and syntax, how you want to start the programming. So advantage of STAAD editor is very, very high. So the people who have not used the STAAD editor, so I'm very sorry that you should be aware about your STAAD editor. So maybe you might be missed in the college or in your projects. So that is very, very effective when you go for some kind of updations or doing some corrections in the models. So that can help you out in your projects, right? So how you want to do that analysis part? So how you want to do that software part? So I hope everyone played this kind of games, right? So if you're aware about this game, you can give yes on the chat box, right? So those who not played these games, you can give no. So I guess all have played this game, right? So everyone have played this game in your life, right? So next part which you want to know on your next game, chess. So very famous game, chess games, what you play on your part. So how these chess games are going? So how these black and white coins are moving forward and backward? So it's basically a programming only. So if you understand the concept of programming, so you will not forget the concept of analyzing and designing using STAAD Pro. So STAAD Pro and STAAD Editor is basically your programming and syntax part. So I'll just show you a sample file over here. So this is the syntax. So how that syntax is working on your VB. So this is your Visual Basics. We call it as a Visual Basics script. So as I said on the first slide, STAAD Pro is a FEM-based software, and it also add on to C, C++, VB, and Visual Basics. So this is one such coding where we write it on a behind screens and we develop the code. The same manner, if you want to understand the STAAD editor, my dear students, you should be understand about this coding also. But this is not at all a difficult part. So I agree that this is not at all a big challenge for us. So this is a very, very, very basic and very easiest to understand. So you should be aware about STAAD editor, how this STAAD editor is working. So with certain syntax. So what syntax I want to use in STAAD editor? So if you are getting a complex building, say suppose you are going to work on a sports complex. So the geometries are different, geometries are there, different inputs are there, number of 1,000 beams are there. Say example 1,000 plus beams are there, and columns, etc. Slab thickness, various slab thickness. So how you are going to go and visualize in the GUI interface, or how you are going to go and select one beam over there? So that is a question. So we want to troubleshoot, or you want to solve the errors, how you want to identify that in root. So you need to go to in root. So that is on syntax. So you go open the syntax and find where is the mistakes in the model. So when you handle 1,000 plus beams and 1,000 plus columns or different geometries, so you want to identify where is my mistake. So as I go in root and I identify the mistakes where is on the screen. So well advanced, the STAAD Pro, the latest version, which gives you error backup, highlighting your errors on the lines of the program also. So you can see this program line. So this is called your program line and syntax lines. So that will identify your clear where the errors are coming. So this is very, very, very advantage for us. So that's what I'm teaching you here on STAAD editor on the first day only. So this have a various advantage using a STAAD editor, right? So might be few my students have started your STAAD editor, or you might be started directly to GUI. But yes, for the beginner, those who are starting as a level 0, so you can take this example, so which I have prepared over here. So you can take this sample, all the step-by-step procedure. What is that? What is this? All is explained over here. So when you see this particular first box, so let me put the numbers. So first box number 1. So I want to solve this question. I want to do this model in my STAAD Pro. So how I want to do this in STAAD Pro? So first question is 2 kilonewton UDL load is applied at 1 meter, and 8 kilonewton load is acting at 2.5 meter and both side is fixed. So this is the question. So this is the question. So how I want to do this, understand this codings. So how it will be helpful for me. So basically when you see this part, so here you can see that the first part, the number 1 box is a default box by the software. So once you open the STAAD Pro and STAAD editor, by default, this box will identify up to here. Right, so it will say you which units you are going to work. It is going to work on meter and kilonewton. So my units is understand for me. So which unit I want to work. I'm working in meter and I'm working in units force as kilonewton. Now what is this 79? Why it is 79? Why it should not be 80? Or why it should not be 77? So can anyone can drop a message answer in the chat box why it cannot be 77 or 78 or why it cannot be 80 and why it is 79 by default. So could those who know the answer, you can drop the answer in the chat box. Okay, so you can share your answers if you know that. Right, so the 79 is a character width. So how much width your programming is to be developed. So that is the understand by your system software. So what is the width of your codings, so the character width of my script. So that is by system language, that is called as 79 as a thing. A best example I want to say as is your code password. So when you generate a password, it will say 1 capital letter, 1 small letter, 1 special character, 1 numbers should be followed. So they'll say this condition, your password should have this much, and it should be not less than 6 and it should not be more than 10. So they'll give you the range. Your password should not go more than 6 character and it should not go across 10 character. So you understand the rules, how the software is going to understand your codings the same way that is understand has a character width, what inputs you're going to give. And second thing, second box, coming to the second box number, join coordinates. So what is your join coordinates? So joins. So what I'm going to join? I'm going to join 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 are called the node. 1 and 2 is called node. So how I want to connect my node? So node 1, node 2. So what is the distance between this? It's 5 meter. It's called 5 meter. So I want to connect node 1 and node 2 by syntax called join coordinates. By syntax called join coordinates. So when you use the syntax of join coordinates, that can be connected to your 2 nodes. You can connect to 2 nodes how you want to join this. So node 1 is x is 0, y is 0, z is 0. And x2, y2, z2. Now what is x2? I'm only focusing 5 meter, from 0 meter to 5 meter. So that is what? Second node is 5, 0, 0. So that is part. Now what is member incidences? So member incidences is your how many members you are going to connect. So how many members you are going to connect. So there is only one member. The line you can see this red color. So that is as a beam element. So this is called as a beam element. So now you're going to connect this element. So as I said already, the STAAD Pro is working on FEM models. So it's work on node and member. So you have a node, you have a member. So right. So your answer is correct. So I have 2 nodes, I have 1 member. So that makes my frame, beam element. That creates my beam. The third box is on material. So what material I want to give? So I want to give a concrete, isotropic concrete, which is having a E value and Poisson's value, density. I'll come to this inputs later on. So what is damping and how much input you want to give for it. So by default, you want to give this inputs and you can adjust this density and Poisson's value and E values as per you might be studied in the numericals. So you might be given E value, you might be given Poisson's value or density value for different kind of materials. So you can change that. So when you make certain kind of brick masonry, you can change to 20 or plain cement 24 or RCC 25, we can give it. So this is a plain cement, so I'm using 24 over here. And then you go for this fourth box over here. member property. So what is a member property? So the member property is all about the size of the section, what size of sections you're going to give. So the size of section shows you ZD and YD. So width and depth. So it's a prismatic member. So we call it as a rectangle section as a prismatic sections. So YD represents your depth and ZD is your 0.23. And then you need to apply the constants. What is this constants? So the material is called as concrete element. So I'm designing as a concrete all elements. So there is only one element. So even though I give all elements. And supports, yes, we can type simply node 1. So this represents the node 1 and node 2 as fixed. So we can write simply fixed. Pinned. For roller, case is different. So I'll discuss for roller in class. So roller, we need to release the FZ and MX, MY values. Right. So for that, we need to do it. And then you can see for the load type, which type of load I want to give. So it is a dead load and self weight is -1. It's due to the gravity. So the -1 is always due to your gravity. So this is your gravity loads. So that's called as gravity loads. So only we are mentioning as a -1. And supports are fixed. So you can, sorry, again over here, member loads. So what is that member load? So this is a member carrying two loads. One is your uniform load, one is your point load. So uniform, so syntax for uniform load is UNI, GY, -2 is your value of the force, what force you are going to apply, and 0 to 1. So how much distance? 0 to 1 meter. So that's your distance. And for concentrated loads, what is a concentrated load? 8 kilonewton. So that is acting at your 2.5 meter. So directly we are writing only 2.5 meter. So once you work with this example, so you get your structure ready on the board. So you get your structures. So what I'm going to do is I have shared this file. I will share you this file. So how you want to do it. So certain questions is right now, I will share you that file later on. So how you want to do this exercise. So the question is here for the day is take home. What you want to do is, so I'll explain you the statement. So I'll explain you the statement. What you want to do is just you can practice and we can discuss this in next class. So you have some complex drawing. So let it be any size or any shape or any geometry. Okay. So let it take any example. So you can imagine in your mind, it's a complex drawing. Now, how you want to do is, how you want to create a grids. So basically you want to create a grids on the structure. So you don't have an AutoCAD file. So understand my word. Those are already aware about the tricks. The challenge is here. So you don't have the AutoCAD software with you and you don't know how to convert that DXF file. So you don't use this AutoCAD and you want to convert that into DXF file. So this option is not there for you. But I need to input my grids. I need to input my grids to STAAD Pro. So how you want to do that? So this is the challenge, right? So this is a challenge to you, how you want to do it. Next part. So, okay. So I agree that you have taken this part. So please mention if you have taken the questions. Okay. So we are almost to the end of the day today. So question is clear. You don't want to use AutoCAD. So you don't have AutoCAD, but I want to import that grids to STAAD Pro. So how I want to do that? So this is a challenge question. For beginner, this might be very complex. For those who already done STAAD Pro and for MTech students, so you can take this as a challengeable question for you. So how you want to bring certain complex drawing. So let us take a complex drawing, any shape like this. A building structure is like this, any shape of buildings. So I want to bring this inside my STAAD Pro models. So without DXF file. So underline word. So without DXF file, right? So finally we are at the end of the day. So I hope your battery is also getting less, right? So charge of your this level, right? So now I request you to fill the feedback which is shared in the chat box already, or you can scan this QR. You can give your feedbacks. It's very important for us. Right. So day one is almost end of sessions. Now I request for your questions, your doubt clearance, whatever you have in your mind, and I'll be explaining you all this part. So I hope the chat in the chat box, the feedback link is available. So I request all the participants to fill your feedbacks for day 1. Okay. So thank you, and you're open for discussions. So let me go through certain questions, if any questions over here. Yes, Rahul, you can ask questions. You can on your mic. You can discuss now. Okay, Beneath Agarwal, STAAD Pro works on yield line theorem. So how it can be a FEM software? Yes, your question is right. Yield line theorem. So the yield line theorem and FEM oriented software, please make clear. Yield line theorem is not an application. It is an analysis tools like slab analysis. So yield line theorem, basically when you deal with slab analytical part, so when you draw some slabs and you want to distribute that loads, so that is a concept in RCC. Okay, so that is a concept where you divide the structures and you make yield line applications. But when you talk about FEM, it's called discretizations. So discretization means you want to break into small segments, right? So if I want to analyze my slab only, so by seeing yield line theorem, you see this part. But when I see in STAAD Pro, I want to do the meshings. Basically, I want to do the meshing. So if you are aware about it, you might be knowing this part. If you're not aware, please update yourself. So we do the meshings. So we do meshings. And then we see the stress counters. What are the stress values on the slabs where the more stresses are coming? So it shows the alert to us. So where the stress is coming. So in this case, we discretize that. So each one square mesh shows your value. So we discretize this section and we analyze this part. So this is basically FEM oriented, right? Any other questions? If you have any more doubts, you can drop again. Share again FEM full form. Finite element method. FEM is for finite element method. It's called as FEM. And we also say FEA. So we have civil FEA. So especially we have certain part A. So it is called analysis. FEA, finite element analysis. Okay, so that is called FEA analysis. So few software like ANSYS, if you are aware about the ANSYS, for that can be used as a FEA analysis or FEM methods, right? So next question, yes, finite element, Hussein has given, thank you. Hussein, STAAD Pro is coded in C++ max, character size, okay, you have given the answer. 125. So after coding, maximum value left space is 79, correct? And still we can enter more character by splitting. Fine, good. Abid, okay, I guess he's my student over here. Right, nice to see you, Muhammad Abid. Please explain member incidences 1, 1, 2. Sauraj Kumar Gupta, if we have two beams in transverse direction, then how to write that? Okay, good question. So how you want to write the member incidences? So the member incidences is basically is how you want to give the numberings. So basically, if you want to talk about member incidences, so how many members? Say suppose, for example, this is my first node. So circle. So let us say circle head represents the node. Okay, and square box represents the member. So how many members I have? I want to see that. 2, then have 3. Now I have 4 here, 4th node, 5th node, and 6th node over here. So I'm going to join one by one. First member, second member, and vertical directions. So this will be 3rd member, 4th member, and joining this to 5th member, then 6th member, right, and 7th member. So I have 7 members here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. So 7 members are there. And how many nodes are there? 6 nodes are there. So how I want to write? So starting from 0, 0, 0. So I need to write it. What is the distance? Suppose this is 3 meter and this is 5 meter. So I will write for this as 1 first member, 0. Okay, for this number 0. So what is 3 meters? So that is 3 meter from 0 to 1, right? So first member is from 3 meter. 0, 0. Now second member. So what is second member? So how much member from the starting point? So second member is be starting from here. So 3 plus 5, 8, 0, 0. So this shows you X, this shows you Y, this shows you Z. Now when I move on this direction, suppose this direction is Z. So I will write my third member. Suppose I am writing for third member. So X is 0, Y is 0. I'm moving in this as a Z direction. So Z is now, say suppose 2 meter. So I'll write 2 meter. So like this we need to develop it. Okay, right? So I hope you got the answer for that. Then yes, any other doubts? Then so okay, recorded session will be shared once the end of the meeting. We will be sharing to your email IDs. You will be getting there. And you can also get it from our school Facebook page. You can follow our school Facebook page. It will be available there also. But it will be taking time. So the storage will take time. After 2 hours or 3 hours, you can check it there. Right. Direction fine. Okay. While this course going on RCC or both RCC steel. So Azad Rahman, this course is basically a basic level and outlook for the software. So we are not going specifically for RCC or steel. So we are not going in depth because time restrictions is, we have, and we are going for basic level for the boot camps. And this will be an overall idea what is the software is all about it. Fine. So not specifically for RCC, but if you require, we are planning further sessions. I will invite you over there for RCC and steel. Okay. Next question will be next class, sir. Okay, next class will be same timing, 4 o'clock tomorrow, 4 to 5. The links will be shared at 3 o'clock. Any other questions? Any volunteers want to ask the questions? You are welcome. You can discuss now, or else we can close the meeting. Okay, I got one more question. We wish it goes in deep in RCC if possible. Okay, fine. I'll help you out in designing an RCC part, how you want to design inputs for RCCs. Complex and irregular buildings for analysis and design. Yes, I will discuss that also. So I have given some exercise today. You can think about that. Okay, good question. Abid has asked, every software has certain some limitation. Can you elaborate about it? Okay, fine. So let's close part first. Then I'll come there. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, good going. So let's okay, I'm getting questions. Good. Okay, good. Okay, software limitations. So software limitation in STAAD Pro, there is no kind of major issues in using STAAD Pro. So it is easy to any models or any complex model, we can do it in STAAD Pro. But thing is, the graphical interface different from one software to another software will vary. So some may be very comfortable in Windows, or some may be very comfortable in MacBook. So different kind of opinion how they see these models. So that is the only things which is there in the STAAD Pro. So no complex is there. Okay, can you explain difference between STAAD and STAAD? So SAP is basically a different company, that is CSI where I work. So that SAP is used for pre-stress, bridges and foundation part. And STAAD Pro, we have STAAD foundation separately, not in STAAD foundation we have. We can use that for analysis. Okay, and Jyoti sir, please share software link so that we can download. So the link is already available in the group. If you are in the group, you can get that step-by-step procedure already shared. Okay, CYP software is good. Yes, it is good. You can use that also. Some packages or softwares are available in CYP. You can go for that also. Right, fine. Okay, so we'll end up this day one. Thank you for your discussions and meet you tomorrow again.